Toca just released a 4-story home designer called the Country Manor, and it is such a beautiful pack. There are 99 new furniture items, 13 new wall and floor options, and 3 main floors and then 1 smaller floor on the top. This pack cost $4.99 USD, which I think is a pretty good price considering all that it comes with. I'll go through all the floors and give you a house tour and then go through each of the furniture items before showing you my final build. Alright, and I placed the house in Pomodoro Plains. It seemed to fit perfectly, and this is a little preview of the furniture that comes with the Country Manor. I think it's super cute, lots of shelves and plants and just all sorts of things here. But first I'm going to show you the house itself. So starting downstairs, there's just this big lawn on both sides of the house actually, which I think is really nice because we have outdoor spaces, but this is like an outdoor yard that's like nice. We have yards and we have outdoor spaces, but this is the first fancy outdoor space that we really have in the home designer. So I think this is really nice for like fancy parties or maybe even weddings, because we can do beach weddings, but more springtime weddings have been not the best option. So whatever you want to use this for, garden parties, whatever, I think is a great option. Heading upstairs, the second floor really only has 3 rooms. This main entry room, which is a decent size, and then there's a big room to the right of that has a couple windows, but otherwise it's just blank wall space. This gives kitchen vibes to me, although it definitely could be used for anything. And then over to the left is just this big room that totally feels like a sitting room or some sort of fancy parlor / living room. And it's just got those 2 big windows, another one on the side, and just tons and tons of floor space. Now moving up to the 3rd floor, and this floor reminds me a lot of the 2nd floor of the 5-star hotel, not in a bad way, just in a similar way. To the left, we have a room with this little closet or bathroom area, and I will say one downside about this house is that that's the smallest room in the house, so it's kind of the only one that works as a bathroom. But we do have this really nice, really big balcony, which I definitely appreciate because a lot of balconies in Toca are pretty small, so it's great to have a big one. And then otherwise, the room is just pretty big and open with 1 small window, and then that white trim taking up a large portion of the bottom of the wall. The room to the right is much more a blank canvas than the other one. There's only that 1 side window, and then otherwise it's just plain empty wall, but I do really like the variation and I think it could be used for a lot of different things. And last but not least, we have the upstairs kind of half room. It's a lot smaller, similar to the upstairs attic in the big family home, but it is so pretty. I love the big windows. It's 100% giving ballroom vibes, and there's actually a secret in here. So if you saw any of the trailers, you'll notice that panel was mentioned in one of them, and there's a gold bar and a stack of cash hidden back there. I think that not only is just a fun little hidey hole for whatever you want, but it really ties in with the fancy, rich feel of the pack as a whole. Alright, and on to the furniture review. We only get 1 bed, a very pretty cream tan one, and then we have 2 nightstands, a brown one and a gold leopard one, as well as a vanity, a cute gold tea cart tray that I really love and use a lot in this build, and then a couple shelves, as well as those 2 big indent ones that you'll see in a little bit. I'm not sure what they're called, but they're like set into the wall and very pretty. There's also that gold hanger set, which I like that it has 3 instead of the usual 4, as well as those really pretty cabinets, these beautiful purple curtains, and a matching purple rug that is just so cute, and there's a little white one that's in the same shape that goes along with it. For dressers, we get a nice big golden shelving unit, as well as a smaller dresser that has like a cool glass top to it, and although I wish the glass top would flip up and let you store things inside of it, it doesn't, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it would have been a cool feature to have. The bathtub, toilet, and sink are all this very pretty reddish pink with silver metalwork and a pink inner lining for the bathtub. I love this. I'd actually suggested that Toca add more red furniture in the future, and I'm really happy to hear that they listened to my suggestion. The rest of the toiletry items are either lavender or a matching pink to the bathtub, and then there are 2 mirrors, a tall, dark gold rectangular one, and then a small golden little sun. Moving on to the kitchen, we start off with this nice big refrigerator, and then we have 3 tables, an outdoor one, a gold swan one, and then this party looking one with a nice tablecloth. There are 3 chairs, a green one, an outdoor one, and then a little green stool. And then my favorite part about the kitchen has to be the counters. Not only do we get an island, which is awesome and has some great storage space, but we also have an extra deep counter space behind the sink and the stove and the dishwasher. I tried to make this in one of my videos a couple weeks ago and it looked all right, but now having one that's like actually like this, like please Toca Boca, keep doing this. It looks so awesome. One thing that I didn't figure out until after recording this is that if you put 2 of the martini glasses together, like you would with any other foods for recipes, it will actually create a little pyramid of glasses, so you'll get to see that later on in the video. Just like with everything else in this pack, the food is especially fancy. We have a fruit bowl, some oysters, a weird seafood jello, some decorated little crumpets, the food, not the animal, and then some deviled eggs, which all of them are pretty fun, but I think the deviled eggs are my favorite because I do like those in real life. Now for decor. We've got another one of the book stacks, but this one has a slot to place items in, which I think is a really neat addition. We've also got 2 new pillows, 3 new statues, a cute little dog bed, dog bowl, and some dog food that looks similar to the kind that we get at the Fluffy Friends Adoption Center. For greenery, this big one is called a bird of paradise, and then we've got this little swan flower pot, as well as a purple droopy plant, which matches some tree flowers that we'll see later. We've got a bunch of new lights in this pack, and while they're all definitely very pretty, I think the hanging green and the standing pink are my favorite 2 lights. I ran out of space downstairs, so I'm going to show you the rest of it upstairs. To start off, we've got this really pretty red couch, a cream and brown chair, a super pretty pink peach ottoman, a sideways couch, an outdoor couch, a bench, and a fireplace. Next up is an old Victrola record player with a record that I will play a sample of in a second, as well as a nice white piano. We've also got these nice gold frames alongside 3 posters that are knockoffs of 3 real-life movies. Slith Sloth is a knockoff of King Kong, Noir is a knockoff of Dick Tracy or other old black and white detective movies, and Toca Blanca is a knockoff of Casablanca. And finally, onto the outdoor items. Now, I'm sure you might have seen these trees if you've seen any of the promo trailers, but I'll get back to them in a minute once I get to some more secret type things. There are these stonework items for the ground, a little path, and then like a little round decor piece, as well as some lampposts, a cute new little blanket pillow set that I really love, a fountain, and then this sort of bush hedge archway. And finally, we have this very big white tent that could be used for outdoor garden parties or weddings or really just anything, as well as this cute pink umbrella and this marble sloth statue. Overall, I definitely prefer the indoor furniture to the outdoor, but that's just personal preference. The outdoor furniture we got is amazing, and I'm about to show you the trees, which makes it even better. Although these are our last 2 items of the pack, any source of liquid or water will do to make the flowers bloom and then to make the tree turn purple. And I'm not sure if other garden shears will make the trees trim as well, but I don't see why not. And slight spoilers for the final build you're about to see in a second, but here's where you can find the instructions on the purple tree, hidden in the right side of a hedge in the yard outside. Alright, and we are finally at my final build. This took me, I think, 10 hours, give or take, to complete. I am far from a fast Toca builder, but I definitely enjoyed it and I really love how everything turned out. I kept the entrance pretty simple with just some columns and a couple plants, and then I put these huge flower beds under each window, and those took quite a while to figure out, but I really love how they turned out in the end. There's also some bikes, and if you keep going, you'll see a fountain that I'm also very proud of, and it wasn't too hard to do, but I really love how it turned out. If you keep going, you'll see the reason for the bikes, and that's because there's a picnic being held under the tree. Originally, it was directly under the tree where the swing is now, but I decided to rearrange things because there was an empty gap, and so although I loved the picnic directly under the tree better than I do this final version, I do think that this looks really good overall and it fills in all the gaps nicely. Heading over to the right side of the garden, I filled that area with a garden party. Now, I've never been to one of these in real life, so all I know about them is from books, but I still really like how it turned out, and I think it's fairly accurate. I added a guest list and a coat check, as well as a record player, and then of course the food tent and the tables. My favorite part has to be the bench under the tree. Pink and green are my favorite colors, and that bench is just so cute. I love it so much. But then the tree is also just so pretty with the green and the purple, and yeah, it just paints a really pretty picture. I would also like to note the 2-tiered stack of the crumpet plates. It did take a bit of finagling to work that out, but I think it looks really good in the end. Alright, and heading back upstairs. So the second floor landing is pretty much just that, a landing with some comfy chairs, table, dog bed, stuff like that. And then over to the left is the fancy parlor / sitting room. So there's an ottoman with a fireplace, and I really like symmetry, so that's why that area is so symmetrical. I don't love how it turned out, but I was having a bit of trouble with this room since the spots beneath the windows felt pretty empty, and then the spots between the windows felt kind of crowded. But I think they turned out pretty well, especially this center area. It looks super pretty and fancy, and it's not too cluttered, but it's not too empty either. Over to the left of that is a little library area. Yes, it's the same book 6 times, but there are 6 different statues or items on top of each one, so I think that makes it look pretty good. And then there are also more statues at the bottom as well. Over to the right of the sitting room is the kitchen, and again, I really like how this room turned out. Like I was expecting, I loved the counters, and I had a fun time figuring out what to replace the crumpets with, since I wanted it to seem like they were being made in the kitchen. I ended up going with biscuits, which are close enough to plain crumpets, at least for what I had to work with. And over on the far right, I added some flowers to make it seem like they were being freshly picked and being put on the crumpets right before serving time. Moving upstairs to the 3rd floor, on the left, I have the red, pink, and brown / cream room. I think it turned out really pretty, and I really love how the bathroom worked out. It's such a small room, and there's not much space for variation, because, you can only lay it out in so many ways if you want to fit the sink, the toilet, and the bathtub in there. But I really like how it turned out, and I love that everything matches the vintage bottle on the shelf. The vanity, dresser, and shelves are nothing really special, although I did paint that flower picture, so I am pretty proud of that. The curtains by the bed were a last-minute addition, but I'm very, very glad that I added them because it totally took the design up to another level, and it's since become one of my favorite areas of the whole house. And last but not least for this room, I just put a couple snacks and art supplies outside, with another copy of that rose painting from inside on the easel. And finishing up this floor with the bright side of the build, everything is very white, lavender, gold, and then the little pop of green just helps tie everything together. My goal was like a teenager's bedroom that still feels like this rich country manor kind of vibe, and so I think I nailed it, but let me know in the comments what you think. And last but not least, here is my 4th floor ballroom. This one was also really fun to make. I'd actually been wanting to use that pink flower wallpaper downstairs in what ended up being the purple room, but it just didn't work out, so I'm really happy I got to put it in here, and everything's just pink and green along the walls, so of course, me being me, I really love that. The party hasn't really started yet. This is kind of just people being there early, so that's why the waiter's against the wall, and then people are just kind of in clumps talking, and the band's not there yet, but their instruments all are. But even if the party hasn't started yet, you can still see the vibe of it, and I think it's really pretty. I like how I got everything to work out, and I'm really happy with how this room turned out. But that was my final tour of the Country Manor. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments, but I definitely loved this pack and would totally recommend buying it. If I had to give it a rating, I would say 9 out of 10. The only reason it's losing a point is because of the bathroom situation. There's really only one place to put it, and it's pretty cramped, so that's a downside. But other than that, I can't really think of anything to complain about, so I would totally recommend getting it. I think this would be a great house if you want to do a rich role play. I don't think it would work too well for a family role play, but you could try it. It's big enough to at least give it a chance, but it would definitely work well for an outdoors role play. And if you're more of a home designer person like me, then if you want fancy items or landscape outdoorsy items, then I would definitely recommend getting this pack. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the pack and whether or not you'll be getting it yourself. Thanks for watching.